Hello, it's Dawn Michelle from Boho Tarot, and welcome to my monthly journal pages. Today we'll be flipping through my April pages and chatting about the journal spreads, techniques, and ephemera I created to connect with my personal tarot practice last month. So for my 2021 tarot journal, I am still working in my B6 size, which is in my Chic Sparrow Darcy cover. I have moved my little fox to the side. I think originally last month I had him on this chain, but my tarot journal actually stands up in my in a bin on my desk, and it stands up so that it sits like this and I can see the side. So I moved him to the side so I could see him all the time because I think he's just really cute. So in my tarot journal, nothing much has changed in the front. I still making use of my pockets for various little things. I haven't made any changes to my yearly insert. We are coming up into the mid part of the year, and so I will probably do a mid-year check-in when we get to that point here in a couple months, and I'll put that in here. But as far as anything else, I haven't added anything else to that. I have added the decks that I worked with for April in my 5-year deck tracker. This has been really cool to just kind of keep track of what I've been working with each month and to see if there are any overlaps. You can see here in 2020, I worked with quite a few different decks, but I worked with the Dreaming Way Tarot in April of 2020, and I also worked with it in April of 2021. So it's always interesting to me when I see that, when I see a deck that I tend to work with during a particular season or on a particular month every year. So moving into my actual tarot journal, this is a B6 Archer and Olive, and I've just got it strung into my Traveler's Notebook, and you can see like it's getting quite fat here. I think I should be able to get one more month out of it. That's kind of my goal, is to make it through May, and then I'll probably just go ahead and get another one. So April's layout was very much inspired by the Oracle deck that I worked with, and that was the Goddess Dream Oracle, and I just have it right here so I can show you real quick. So the back of the card was my inspiration for this whole cover spread for April. I really love the design on the back of the cards. I decided that I was going to work with the Goddess Dream Oracle as my sole Oracle deck for the entire month of April, and then I rotated my tarot decks around it. So often I do it the other way around, where I pick a tarot deck that I'm focusing on, which I will actually be doing in May, and then I swap oracles around. This time I did it the other way around, kept the Oracle deck as my focal point and swapped my tarot decks. And so since I was doing that, and I just absolutely love these backs, I created my cover page to match the back of the cards, and that was my inspiration for this particular layout. So you can see over here I have the decks that I worked with my main focal point deck in the middle, and then I have the 3 tarot decks that I paired it with, and they have little lines. I don't know if that'll show up on camera, but they do have little lines connecting them, so I can visually tell that these were the decks I worked with together. And then I also did some work with the Ostara Tarot, which was a deck that I just kind of pulled in a spur of the moment and then continued to work with throughout the month. So that was my April cover page. I do like to create a page for each month so that I can kind of visually make the distinction between the months. And you can see that most of the time, if you watched my other videos, my cover pages tend to match what I've got going on in my with my decks and the things that I'm working with. So I was all about kind of the florals and animals in March, and that's definitely represented in a lot of the layouts that I did in my journal. February was all about the Ad Orbita. That was one where I had picked a focal tarot deck to work with, and then I swapped decks around that. It's always fun to look back at how my cover pages actually reflect the decks that I'm working with throughout the month. So you'll see that April's layouts really look quite similar to what I did in March. Apparently, I'm just kind of keeping with that theme. However, I'm going to be totally switching things up for May. But before we get into that, let's just take a look at what I put together for April. So I have my seasonal Sunday spread here, and this was the Ostara Tarot. Now this one I pulled in just kind of spur of the moment. My kiddo was out of town when I started this month's seasonal Sunday spreads, and I was just really missing my kid. So I pulled out the deck that we both kind of passed back and forth between us, and was working with that, and just ended up using it through the whole month because it did kind of work for me better than it has, I think, in the past, and I did actually really enjoy working with it. So my seasonal Sunday spreads all come from the posts I do on Instagram, and normally I print out the little thumbnail of it, and I didn't do that this month, mostly because I wanted to leave more space for the cards, wanted to leave more space for writing. And so what I did was I just kind of doodled in some elements that were similar to the thumbnail or the image that I create every week for that particular spread on Instagram. So you'll see that represented throughout. So I just have my 3-card spread here and my reflections. Then moving into the first Monday of the month, I was using the Goddess Dream Oracle and pairing it with the Dreaming Way Tarot, which is one of my favorite decks. And I did quite a bit of little doodling this month again. Now every Wednesday, what I'm currently doing is a 52-week prompt, which I have in my How to Keep a Tarot Journal guide. And so I'm following along with that every week. This month I was using the Dreaming Way Tarot for that practice. And so I was just pulling one card in answer to the prompt and then journaling about it. This one was a little bit wayward. I have some over here. I think it goes across this way. I'd have to actually read it, but it's just a little bit chaotic. So interesting to me. I can always tell kind of what frame of mind I was in when I pull these cards by the way that I actually journal them in my tarot journal. I also did some distress stamping on these 2 pages. I don't think I did that again the rest of the month, but apparently I just felt the need to distress these 2 pages. So moving into the first Friday of the month, again, wrapping up kind of my week, again, using that oracle as my center pole. And then with this particular oracle deck, there's an affirmation, and I started including that as well because I thought that those were really nice to carry with me throughout the day and as I went about my week. So here we have our next seasonal Sunday spread, again using the Ostara Tarot and just pulling in some doodled elements. My prompts were here, and these were my cards that I pulled, and my central question, of course, and my own reflections. And you can see that I followed this layout pretty much week after week, all month long. And actually, this is a layout that I've been doing pretty consistently, I think, over the last couple months. I know I definitely used it all throughout March. And I might have used it, yes, I even used it in February. I might have even used it in January. Yeah, I think this is pretty much the layout I've been following from January through February into, of course, March. I do love the way March pages came out with these doodles. Those were so much fun. I love this one. It's my favorite one. There are a couple in here that I've really loved this month too, but I've been following the same layout since the beginning of the year, and I'm definitely ready to switch things up moving forward into May. But anyway, moving into the next week, we have the Goddess Dream Oracle, which I paired with the Fairy Tale Tarot by Lisa Hunt. This is the Spanish edition, and I use the app on my phone from the Fool's Dog that has the English guidebook so that I can actually determine what's going on with these cards. Again, I have the affirmation here at the bottom. Some of these cards in the Goddess Dream do reference specific goddesses, and so when they do, I always include their name as well. So here again, we have my Wednesday prompt, and I have my question, and I just pulled my single card from the Dreaming Way with a little bit of a reflection here and some doodle work. I guess I did distress these 2 pages as well. That is something that I stopped doing as the weeks went along, but it looks like I did do it pretty consistently the first couple weeks. So here's my pulls for Friday. Again, having that oracle in the center with my tarot cards around it, noting the specific goddess that was listed in that particular card, my message, and the affirmation that I found in the guidebook. So my kind of Monday Fridays are really quite simple for the most part. I didn't do a ton in terms of extra decoration this month. There's just a lot of kind of doodling again, and really letting the cards themselves be more of the focal point on the page. So moving into my next week, we have again my seasonal Sunday prompt with my 3 3 positions here, my reflections, and just some little flower doodles in the bottom. I do quite like how this page came out. This was my spread for Monday, where I was working with the Goddess Dream and the Tarot of Mystical Moments. I really came to love this deck. I know I kind of hemmed and hawed about it for a while, and I just wasn't really sure when I first got it, but I really do love it now. And I was pulling in these little red flowers, which were kind of supposed to mimic these, but really don't look anything like it. That's okay. I noted the key phrase down at the bottom of the Goddess Dream Oracle, my own reflections, and of course that affirmation. I do love the way these little flowers kind of help balance out the page and pull in that botanical look that we get through the Tarot of the Mystical Moments. That was really fun. So this, I think, is probably my favorite page for all of April. I really didn't do a ton of like writing in terms of reflection, but what I did do is really spend a lot of time kind of just thinking about this image, looking at it, thinking about what this needs. The prompt was, what do I need to pay attention to today? And so I really just spent some time kind of thinking about that, meditating on it a little bit as I did some paper collaging. Basically, all I have back here is a little bit of craft paper. This is a sticker from the Happy Planner set that I just actually tore in half. It was just a little box. I tore it in half so I get that rough edge, placed those both underneath, pasted my card on top, and then I put some more Happy Planner stickers over the top just to kind of pull that in. And I really love the way this collage turned out. I decided to do the black background for my prompt and write over it with my white gel pen. My white gel pen does not go over Tombow very well. I should have used one of my other markers, but this set of Tombows is what's at hand, so I ended up using that. But I just have a really short message here of what I need to pay attention to today, and that was really your guiding inner voice. That was really what came out of my whole kind of meditation and collage process for this card, was that message. And I just did some little dots, but I love this page. I think it's my favorite for the whole month. And there's always one. Always one that is like my absolute favorite every month, that I'm like, yes, that's the one that just really speaks to me. And the funny thing is this is the one that I did probably the least amount of actual work on, because it's really just like a couple of stickers and my card, but it is definitely my favorite. So moving into the next Friday, we have kind of my wrap-up message for the week. Again, working with the Tarot of Mystical Moments and the Goddess Dream Oracle. The free spirit card is the Wolf Woman, so I kind of noted that. Again, my little reflections and the affirmation that comes from the Goddess Dream Oracle. And you can see these are very simple pages, and the thing that I really like about these is it really allows the artwork of the cards themselves to stand out. And sometimes I can get a little too busy with my journaling and I kind of lose the card and all of that. But I really love how these cards stand out against the white background, and they really are the focal point, and I think that's really great. So moving into our last set day for the month, we have my seasonal Sunday spread with my 3 cards, again using the Ostara Tarot, and just my reflections and some little, I don't know what those are, flowers, balloons, who knows. I was just doodling, but I think it came out fine. Then in the last week of April, I was still working with the Tarot of the Mystical Moments because I didn't quite feel like I had enough time with it the week previous, so I wanted to pull it back into rotation again, and so I just continued working with these 2 decks together for the last week of April. The goddess that was in relation to this New Beginnings card, and the message that's on the actual card itself, because when I shrink these down, these messages can be really hard to read. We have my own reflections, and of course the affirmation that I found in the guidebook. Again, really, really simple, but I think it works really well. It's definitely easy for me to come back and look at. So this is my second favorite page. And this is my Wednesday prompt, and it was a really simple one of what needs more time to grow, and I pulled the 7 of Wands. And again, this was another instance where I really didn't do a lot of journaling in terms of writing reflection. It was more kind of art journaling or collage journaling, spending time with the card in that way and thinking about it. I have several layers of, again, that craft paper, which is actually, I'm gonna show you because these are fantastic for journaling. They are little craft paper sticky notes, and they are really, really thin, so they are great for layering up in your journals. And I basically just took one of these and tore it down, tore it in half, and then just kept tearing little slivers off of it. And that's how I got all these little craft paper accents here. It just came from this little craft paper sticky notepad. After I laid this corner down, I took a couple of floral stamps and just stamped on the side here to give a background behind the card, pasted the card over the top, did some more of that craft paper collage, and then added some happy planner stickers. So I really wanted to pull out the green. And basically my takeaway message was keep moving forward, and that was it. But I did get to spend some nice time with the card and the prompt and thinking about things as I was collaging this page, which was always fun. So on the last day of April, we have my 3-card kind of wrap up for the week with the message found on the Goddess Dream Oracle, and again working with the Tarot of Mystical Moments, same kind of layout, my reflections, and the affirmation from the guidebook. I am going to be detouring from this layout in May. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different because I think it's nice to change things up. I've been kind of following the same layout for pretty much the whole of the year. I'm just really ready to kind of switch things up a little bit. Having a journaling practice that is really consistent like that and a tarot practice that is really consistent like that can be really fantastic. But when you do the same things over and over again in the same way, it can start to feel a little bit repetitive. It can start to feel a little bit like a chore. And so when things start to feel that way, that's when I know it's time to switch things up again. I will still be using my tarot cards and I will still be tarot journaling. I'm just going to change the way that I journal just to kind of shake things up a little bit, just to give me something else to focus on. I'm sure I'll go back to this layout that I've had at some point, but for right now, I feel like it's time to do something a little bit different, just to give my practice a little bit of a shake up. It's not about reinventing the wheel. It's just about making those small, subtle changes that kind of keep things fresh and interesting. And whenever I change the way, or I should say I shift or adjust the way I approach my tarot journal, it does kind of help boost my tarot practice as well, and it keeps that from getting too terribly stale. So where I might be working with a couple of different decks together and doing the pairing thing, then I might switch, as I'm going to be doing in May, with just focusing on one deck primarily and letting that be the main deck that I work with throughout the whole month, and kind of diving deeper into that rather than swapping decks around, every week as I have been doing the last couple of months. And I've always still had a focus deck these last few months, but I have swapped decks around, and I have done a pretty consistent job of, readings on specific days for specific things. And sometimes that can get a little bit repetitive, and it can get a little bit boring. Let's just be honest. And when that starts to happen, it just means for me that it's time to swap things up a little bit. So I'll be doing a different layout in my tarot journal. I'll be working with my cards a little bit differently coming into May. And so that'll be a lot of fun to look at and see how that changes at the end of the month. So there we have it, another month complete in my 2021 tarot journal. If you'd like to find out more about any of the decks that I worked with last month, be sure to check out my April reflections video. Thank you for joining me today. You'll find links for everything featured here in the description box below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you again soon for more creative tarot for an inspired life.